So for the prompt casualties due to the blast and heat and the prompt radiation of the explosion, prompt casualties are considered deaths within 12 weeks. And so here are the numbers based on each city, according to each city. And I did two simulations for each case. A high estimate, assuming all people were outdoors and unshielded, which is a little bit unrealistic, but of course, the people will be in buildings and kind of shielded by the buildings, but it's a very necessary upper level estimate to do. And then the low estimate was a simple approximation of a dense urban environment, which is very complicated to simulate by assuming each individual is somewhat shielded. By yeah, 24-inch concrete was the assumption that the hotspot program can use to calculate the effects. So but you can already see that even for this low estimate, the numbers are already approaching the Nagasaki value of casualties of around 60,000. And especially in the case of Egypt, in Cairo, due to just how dense Cairo is in certain spots, that really shows that in a highly dense urban environment, you can really see these devastatingly high casualties with only 1 kiloton, uh, with only a 1 kiloton yield. So the density of the population obviously has a huge effect, and uh, that's what I think it's really that's what's really showing with these by simulating these different cities. Of course, that the population numbers will affect the outcome. And that's I mean it's obvious to some extent, of course, but I think it's important because uh many people have this idea of oh, 20 kiloton weapon, that means 60,000 people, because that's what happened in World War II. However, the population densities are different now, and the like cities are much denser now, and uh so what we traditionally think of as this number of deaths corresponds to this many kilotons somewhere in our mind. We have to remember it's not true, because there's all kinds of cities with different characteristics, and if an attack is carried out, many more people could be affected by a much lower yield. So that's the important point, is that history is it's well, the world is changed, the world changes, and now the effects could be much more dramatic. And so this is another map showing how those numbers were acquired. So I had to combine the different effects, the blast, heat, and radiation. So basically just to give you some idea of at what distance people will be affected by some of these effects. Um, so at about half of a kilometer out, this is the most dense of damage, and here nearly all buildings will be destroyed, and there will be quite high radiation. And at so at half a kilometer, it will be basically with no questions asked, 100% lethality. And this ranges in some different rings based on where there might be a prevalence of second-degree burns versus first-degree burns. And then finally, all the way out to 1.2 kilometers about, there will be still considerable building damage and widespread injuries due to the building damage. Um, but there will be less burns here. So in this area, you're seeing more of the area where some people may be able to be rescued, because the building damage isn't so bad that
Hmm. I think we may have
I'm
lost.
just
There
kidding.
you go. There you go. You're
An
back.
annotation request. Someone is
Sorry, I bumped my screen, ma'am.
That's okay.
it's okay. Um, yeah, but I was happy to see engagement, but I was just a little confused. Um, so let's see. Okay, so what is particularly devastating about a certain, even a medium to high level of radiation will cause people to not be able to recover from their physical injuries due to weakened immune systems, and several of these kinds of layers of casualties were calculated. So it's complicated calculation, but the important point here is that due to the layering of injury types that you see with nuclear weapons, it's going to be especially with the radiation effects, the survivability of physical effects will be much lower.